Okay. All right, everybody. So welcome to the Virgin broadcast of Ideas to Done. I'm Sarah Hawkins from True North Business Management. And as you can see on the screen here, Ideas to Done are twice monthly conversations that I have with some of my favorite people about getting things done in business as well as life. And so the way that these will run is we chat about the topic of conversation for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll open up for Q&A at the end, and these will be recorded. And so you can also find that these will be archived on YouTube. And if you're viewing this from YouTube, you already know that. So you can go to my website and the events page to register for this and future webinars. And it's the truenorthbusinessmanagement.com/events page. And you'll also find other things that True North Business Management is up to, both locally and on the interwebs. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce I'm going to stop sharing this screen because we're done with that. I'd like to introduce my guest for the day. Her name is Sam Tackeff, and here's her bio. She is an agile business operations and marketing consultant with a background in high growth tech startups, such as Square and Runkeeper. Her specialty is bringing structure, focus, and execution to creative leaders and teams, to which I say, simpatico much. So I met Sam. I went to a workshop or a networking group here in Boston, and Sam was one of the panelists. And I just felt like she was in my head, and everything she was talking about was exactly the stuff that I think about and work on in my business and with my clients. And so at the end of it, I was just like, I have to get up there and talk to her. And so since then, we've just been checking in regularly, and she stepped right up to the plate and volunteered to be my very first guest on Ideas to Done. And if you haven't already checked it out, you can go onto my website and view her blog about the topic at hand. And so today's topic is taking a digital detox when your business, or actually it doesn't, I assume that we all need that we all need to take a digital detox. But the angle here is like when you're running your business, you have an online business, or you're trying to market yourself, you have your own business, spend a lot of time on social media. And so how is it possible, Sam, I ask you this, how can we take a digital detox when our businesses run on social media, or if we're required, we think, to be online a lot?
The first thing I have to say is this is a really tricky topic to navigate for a lot of people. I come from a tech background. I grew up with limited computers, but by the time I was in, high school and certainly college, computers and phones were part of most people's lives. I didn't get a cell phone until, I was probably 17, and then I didn't get a smartphone until past college. So I was a little bit of a Luddite in that capacity. But it meant that I sort of, I came with this foundation of doing other things and checking my phone at all hours of the day. And so many younger people have not actually grown up without a phone glued to their hands.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I see someone like, my mom's generation who didn't grow up with a phone glued to their hands, but it's actually harder for her in some ways to shut off. She ends up slightly more addicted to the habit-forming technology that all of these app companies do. So this is, when we think about this is for entrepreneurs for sure, who have to use social media for their businesses, but pretty much everyone I know across the board feels in some way like there's too much technology in our lives. and we can't really escape it.
Mm.
When it comes to what I call a digital detox, and I'm a wellness professional. I think about nutrition. I actually really don't like the word detox. I studied geoscience, so what a real detox is like a very uncomfortable chelation therapy where you actually get rid of toxins. Most people, there are toxins in electronics, but it's a figure of speech, but it's sort of a similar principle where this is so connected to us in our daily lives, and it's doing some negative things to our health and our wellness and our focus,
Mm-hmm.
that anywhere we can try to turn it off is important. That said, even as someone who knows that I need to turn off, I need to put this away, I need to plug it in and walk into the next room and go without it, it is a challenging thing to do.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And it's also, when I talk to people about start by turning off your notifications, right? I get, everybody's like, okay, we can do this. And then the resistance comes in.
Yeah.
But I have to check my email. I have to see the notification. If somebody responds to me on Twitter and I'm not there to respond back right away, that's bad for business. So you have to believe fundamentally that there is a reason for you to turn off, and it is more important than whatever you're doing in business right now, which is hard.
Yeah.
So when I start people on this path of unplugging, we start small.
Mm-hmm.
Turning off notifications is a good start. If you're uncomfortable turning off all of your notifications, start small. My favorite one is like the email notification circle. I don't know. I mean, not everybody has an iPhone, but now all of the notifications look pretty much similar. Mm-hmm. You see the number of how many emails you have. That number is constantly going up. I just turn off that number. Mm-hmm. So I don't even see it. If I want to check my email, it is an intentional checking of my email. It is not because Pavlov notification, quick, I have to check again. You find yourself checking like 20 times a day if you see that number going up constantly.
Yeah.
That's a good first start. Here's the opposite end of the spectrum. One of the most successful businesswomen I know right now, she grew multiple $1 million business lines in the past year and a half. Not doing anything revolutionary, really smart, two really smart businesses. Maybe like she keeps on grabbing more things. Her most effective trick, so she started by turning off her notifications. She went on a big push. You guys should all turn off your notifications, follow me. and I was like, at the time, I was like, I run social media for clients. I run my own business. I can't turn off my notifications. But I followed her on that step. And I feel so much better. Mm. She does not read email.
Ever?
Whoa. Let's think about that. Okay, right? Does not read email. No time. Like, Sarah, how much time would you say you spend reading email a day?
Oh my God. The first step is to scroll through and delete everything that I'm not getting.
Right. So even if you're like committed to purging all of the bad stuff.
Oh, it's like, I don't know, like 3 2-hour chunks of time throughout the day, probably. I mean, yes. And I've got 3 separate accounts. I keep everything separate. So I'm only intentionally looking at whatever email box at a time. But my God, I can't imagine not looking at email at all, ever.
So there was this, Russian billionaire. I think, actually, maybe it was the guy who bought the Nets. and I can't think what his name is.
He bought the what?
The Nets. He bought the basketball team.
Oh.
He's a Russian billionaire. I remember watching a 60 Minutes episode probably 5-6 years ago, and this guy does not use a computer.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, he's missing out on so much in the world. He's like, how does he even run a business? And he's a billionaire, so clearly he's been successful. But when you think about what you really need to do to make your business successful, so much of it is not about checking your email and checking notifications. It's about the real relationships, the things that you're acting on, the conversations you're having.
Yeah.
So back to this. How would you even think about doing it? She has an assistant.
Well, I was thinking that.
Right. You need somebody. She can't not.
The email comes.
The email comes. She has her assistant go through, and even if she had been paying her assistant $50 an hour, which she's probably not, the assistant goes through and looks through the emails, finds the stuff that's most important, responds to the things that she can respond to, and then she gets a roll-up. She walks her through the things that are the most important for her to address.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so just so that others who might not be familiar with it, like roll-up is...
Oh, no, I mean, no technology. Like, she literally takes notes on the things that are most important.
Okay. But when you were referring to roll-up, that's a technology.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
It's a digest of the most important things.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I will fully admit, I am not to the point where I could give up email. I am addicted.
But even if you were able to have somebody else that you liked and trusted enough to be able to do what she has somebody doing for her, you wouldn't be able to give it up?
I aspire to be able to give it up that way.
Okay.
No, but I mean, it made me question my own habits. So, I mean, how many of my emails, your emails, you probably have more than one email account. The most important things come in and you have to respond to them, but nobody needs to respond to email in an hour. You can check your email a few times a day.
Mm-hmm.
I try pretty regularly to recommit to checking less. Committing to say, like, okay, I'm going to cut out all the distractions. I'm going to cut out the social media surfing. I'm going to cut out the email surfing and like reading that great email from that great business coach who has these brilliant ideas and is trying to sell you. Like, going cold turkey is good, but this is something you're going to have to commit to and then recommit on a regular basis if you want to truly reduce the time that you're spending on this wasteful activity.
I'm interested one of the things that you wrote about in the blog post, and also you alluded to when you first started your share here, was this idea of habit forming technologies and the idea of that these apps are like, their metrics are designed, the metrics, the metric is the longer people are on the thing, the more successful they are. So of course they're trying to get us to be on it more. And so it's a battle, there's the technology, people, the psychographics or whatever it is that goes into this. It's like cigarettes being addictive. And, I'm comparing, but still, it's like the idea of having like a habit forming thing that the people who are selling it to you know that it's habit forming, and that's the whole point.
Yes.
And then we're on the other end of this and have to like navigate that process.
Yeah, and also you're not just on the other end. Most people have more than one app on their phone.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and when I much of the last 5 years before I started my own business, I was working in a fitness company we were working to build fitness habits, but that did include being in the app. So I spent a large part of my time thinking about how do we get people to engage and be on here and surf, and how do we create a social component in an app so that people encourage their friends to use it. And so I saw this firsthand, and I was part of it. And even being aware, even having that base level awareness how it works, it's engineering teams are really good at designing habits of having you open the app. And like having you open the app, I mean, this is my, usually when I know it's too bad, I'm lying in bed. I don't do this as often anymore, but I will have closed an app and then find the app has like miraculously reopened again, and it's because I did it. But right, but like I'm like tired. I'm like, I'm just done with Instagram now, so I'm gonna, and then like Instagram is open again, right?
How did that happen?
Right, how did it happen? So trying to figure out ways to break the cycle of reopen, like your thumb you get that feeling of tightness.
Mm-hmm.
So some of my concrete tips for that are, one, if you can get your phone out of your bedroom, that's a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have people move their apps around their phone so that you literally you break that physical habit of like swipe, open.
Yeah.
And my email gets moved to the back, so I have to consciously be like, okay, where is it? And you might, if you download new apps and then you notice that you can't find the things you want to open, it's doing that with purpose.
Cool.
Good first step.
So I do some of these things already, but others are not so much. And I'm very aware that there's this need to recommit on a regular basis. And this, like with email purges too, like I'll go through and just like unsubscribe. We talked earlier before the call started about Facebook group purges. We just like joined, but you won't unjoin my Facebook group, which is you will join and stay joined to the Ideas to Done Facebook group.
Because you add value to my life.
Because
actually, that's a good reason. I want to support my friends, my peers who are doing great work.
Right.
And I can't do that with the best of myself if I'm wasting time in something else.
Right.
And usually it's like the other 20 plus Facebook groups that somebody's posting some. Usually it's things that get me annoyed that are time wasters. Right? Like I want to respond to something that is wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to loop us back because you reminded me here of like, okay, we want to be mindful about what we're doing so that we have room to do the stuff that's important, and knowing what's important and knowing what's unimportant. And that's the whole idea behind Ideas to Done and this new initiative that I've kind of started. I latched on to this tagline that really resonated with me, and I found that it resonates with a lot of people I talk to and work with, because it says exactly what it is. We have lots and lots of ideas. Everybody does. And how many of those do we actually manifest, for lack of a better term? And why don't we do that? And what Sam is sharing with us today is, well, we're caught up with like all of this social media stuff, and we're like triggered to like check our email, we're triggered to like surf Facebook, we're triggered to like mindlessly reopen Instagram after we thought we were done with it. These are the things that that get in the way. And so what I want to do now is just open up for conversation, or Q's and A's if folks have it. We can just say hi if that's also what you want to do. I know that there are some people on here I haven't spoken to, in a while, and so it's nice to have you with us. And also as a reminder that these are, and I'll say this again at the end, these webinars or Zoom conversations happen every other Friday at noon, and they're also recorded. And so the next conversation will be with Elida Swedler McKay, and she is talking about delegation. So like getting rid of some of the things that aren't your forte, or that somebody else is better suited to do, like what you said, Sam, this
email.
Yeah.
Social media is a good thing to delegate as well.
Yeah, if you can get somebody. So this is, there's a nice tie there. So guys, so we've got Laura, Dosa, and Rachel on the line. If anybody wants to unmute and say hey, feel free to do that. We can have a conversation about all of us. So you get any questions for Sam specific to like a challenge that you're having with your Facebook, like how do I undo my notifications or turn off my notifications?
I'd love to hear too what people, what's really working for people.
Not just what's your.
Most people know what is good for them, right? And it's really about like staying accountable to yourself and to others. So definitely open up to you guys as well. What's been working well to turn off? Have you been able to turn off?
Yeah.
Muted.
Yep. Feel free. I know that I was on a call the other day, and I asked a question, and nobody was answering me. It was like an easy kind of question. It wasn't something that anyone needed to think about. I was like, did everybody just kind of like go away? Are you on mute? And somebody did in fact go away. Had to like go deal with something. So folks, if you want to talk, remember that you need to unmute your microphones, and you can step right up and do that. In the meantime, actually, I can just stop talking and see if anybody wants to sit it.
Well, it's kind of funny because I am the person that people delegate that stuff to.
Yeah.
So I'm advocating for people to do exactly what you're telling them to do, except for then I'm doing it. So, but I will say that my phone has never, ever been in my bedroom.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a big one for people. Or, how many people have the phones at the dinner tables, right? That's an important place to address this technology habit as well.
Yes.
Laura, what are you doing though to shut off? So you are on there for clients. Do you set any particular boundaries for yourself with your workday, or how has that been for you?
My social media is not my addiction problem. Email is. And it's really hard for me because I can tell you right as we're speaking, I have 2 email boxes open. And they pretty much sit open all the time. And and that's not counting checking client email, for the email for my clients, because I'm going in there and responding to things for them. And I think the hard part for me is that because I do have it open all the time, that there's now the expectation set with clients that the response will be immediate. And then there's all kinds of grumpiness if it doesn't happen.
Some of that is that you will need to make a commitment to yourself, but also set those boundaries with clients. And it is terrifying to do that. But you know that in order to grow, in order to keep your sanity and to get new clients, you'll have to start setting some of those boundaries. And there's never a great time to do it, right? It's like having kids. There's no perfect time to do it. There's no perfect time to get a pet. There's no perfect time to set boundaries for your clients. It will never feel great, but it will feel great when you are no longer getting those emergency emails. There's some caveats to that. So, you know, and I've been on the other side. I've been a client and been like, look, but I really need you. And there's really no real reason for anybody to be on emergency on call unless you are, what I say, like running a systems engineering team and you have 100 million users you have to worry about if something goes wrong, or you're a doctor. There's nothing life or death. There's like no other on-call required. So you know, thinking about if you were to set some boundaries, what would they look like? For clients, I tend to think, you know, you don't have to cut it down to one time checking your email a day. That's not realistic, but maybe you only check your email on the hour. And
yeah, and the other thing is I've stopped responding to RFPs that say outright, you know, the person we hire will respond within an hour to any email.
Yeah.
And there are job postings there are RFPs like that say, you know, if you want to work for us, emails have to be responded to within an hour.
It's you know, it's sort of like a question of they're not expecting you to be a human being at that point, right? Like they're looking for a machine. They're looking for you know, they're not, and this is a societal problem. I mean, I've been in tech where you know, there is that expectation that you respond to the email within 7 minutes of receiving it.
Yep.
Like, why isn't your email open? Why aren't you seeing this? But there really is no, again, like there's no real reason we don't have to live that way, even when your job is managing people's social media. Only thing I say is like, keep in mind when there's true emergencies or, you know, and I hate to say this, but I will make sure that I hop on if there's something like what happened in Las Vegas this week. Like I want to make sure that nothing's going out automatically, and if it's something that a company will have to respond to immediately, I'd be in tune to that. And other than that, though, break the habit. I give you permission to set those boundaries for yourself. It'll make you, it makes you a better, it makes you better at your work too. If you start thinking about, okay, where are the places where I can put in these systems so I'm not reacting, so everything's thought out and you're just responding but not reacting, that is going to make you a better business person. And your clients are also going to respond well. You're going to be teaching them to be better clients. And it goes both ways.
Right.
So yeah, I need to get better at practicing what I preach to my clients, which is, you know, because I tell them that. I said, I have one client in particular, she goes on vacation and ends up spending her whole vacation responding to client stuff. And this last vacation she went on, she was under strict order from me. You will respond to nothing. You will grit your teeth. You will, throw things if you have to. You will punch pillows, but you will let me respond to everything that needs to be responded to. I said, your only other option is you are allowed to compose that email response, but you are not allowed to send it as you.
Well, it takes practice though, right? Like that, the idea of going on vacation for a week is terrifying if you are not used to regular shut off.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, you have to start small. And for you, maybe that's closing your browsers with your email. Start with just not having it open all the time.
Mm.
My next level is always starting people on like a digital, like a weekend, like digital Sabbath, right? What is one weekend day? Or start with 3 hours maybe on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning where you absolutely do not check anything. And then try to repeat that week by week. So you're not going cold turkey on anything, but building that into your life so that you can build up to going on a vacation. You can build up to, there are people who take off entire months on social media. People who take off entire months on work, that's a very societal thing that we're not used to. But across the world, there are people who shut off, and they you're more productive. You need that recharge time. So starting small, closing the browser.
Closing the browser. All right, Laura, I just want to make time I know Dosa had her hand raised, and thanks, Laura, for taking the leap and being the first one to share. I'm going to see if I can get Dosa off mute and available to chat. There we go, off mute.
Hey,
Dosa,
Sarah.
Hey, there she is.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking that with regard to social media, probably Facebook is what zaps most of my time and energy, but it's also where I get the most of my clients. I'd say probably 85% of the clients I have are through Facebook.
Yep.
What I'm starting to do now is look at what other types of social media people use. For example, email. What's their best method of communication? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And with that in mind, I very, very rarely check my email, maybe 2 times a week, maybe. And as I've been checking in with different things I sign up for, I'm in there more so, and I hate it because to me, it's just a drain of my time and energy. It's not turning an idea into something possible for me. So I'm just wondering, as a generic question, how does one stay in the know of all different ways that people communicate? Because obviously we don't all communicate the same, and stay current.
Right.
For example, Instagram seems to be something now that's bringing in more traffic for me. So now I'm going to Instagram. But there's not enough time in the day, really, if I don't do anything but social media. The only thing I can do is either not charge my phone, not take my phone in when I go into a luncheon or something like that, and just be totally present in the experience. So I may be all over the place, but kind of how do you stay with it? I know how important email is with, now I've been looking at ClickFunnels. I don't know if anybody does ClickFunnels, but email lists are huge, and that's something I have to really get more on board with.
So, I think you're right there where you're identifying. There's this social paradigm shift where digital literacy, learning about different platforms is going to be important. That said, you could have the best businesses are the ones with a targeted niche who are doing their best to support their target clients. And anybody can have a fully booked business if you're a service or a product that is targeted to only one place. If you're being smart about who you are, right? So being very clear about your brand mission and what you do, and just being persistent. So if you find that your clients are mostly on Facebook right now, you're able to do prospecting, outreach, communication on Facebook, and that's what you like doing, I would say that is a good place to continue spending the most of your efforts. Now, that said, a couple of reasons why email is important. One, there's just, most people find that done well, email conversion for sales is just going to be a lot higher. People are getting information from you regularly. You're not just signing them up on the list and then not emailing. You have to think about it as a regular communication channel. And we still see that people are more likely to buy from an email list than, than just you on a Facebook group having conversations. Another benefit of building that email list is that I would probably bet the farm that Facebook will still be around in the next 20 years. I don't think they're going anywhere. But an email list you own, you can take that email list and go to any email service provider. You have the right to email those people. But Facebook as a platform, you do not own. So they can change. And we've seen this happen, over the past 5 years across pretty much all of these big platforms where increasingly you're paying to play. They're not showing your stuff to the majority of the people who follow you. So that's why I do recommend, even if you don't love email, get up to speed on what email marketing can do for you. And then again, there's, if you find that the majority of your clients are maybe on Instagram and Facebook, you don't need to then go and also be great at Pinterest and also be great at Snapchat and also be great at, the newest live video platform that some, 17-year-old is using, unless your clients are going to be 17-year-olds, right? So we have to tailor our efforts to where our target clients are going to be, but we don't have to be doing it all. And that's, I do, my other life is also doing this marketing work and trying to help people think about what platforms they have the best bang for their buck. And if you don't love a platform, don't waste your time there. Mm-hmm. Try to think about the places where you enjoy being. Shifting your focus from consumption to creation. So I don't mind if you're on Facebook and in groups, if you're providing value and showing what you do. Mm-hmm. That's very different than spending 2 hours on Facebook scrolling, responding to friends, maybe posting 1 or 2 times in groups. So anytime you can shift to being more targeted, it's going to be helpful for you. You could spend, if you blocked off 2.5 hours once a week to do very targeted group work. So that's where you're responding actively to questions that you can answer in your business sense. You're actively looking for those questions and responding to them. You could probably still book yourself out solid based on just that 2.5 hours of prospecting. Mm. Most people are not doing that. Most people aren't coming to these channels or these platforms with focus. So that's what I like to think about. Where can you actually do focused content creation and conversations versus being like every other user of every other platform, which is like, let's scroll, let's like. But you go down these rabbit holes. Like, I gotta look at all of my French bulldogs on the hashtags. Like, so. I do have my goal for my French bulldogs brand is to make him pay for his own bully sticks and treats. So actually, that's actually a good trick. Is like, if I'm gonna waste my time on social media looking at dogs, he's got to figure out ways to pay the bills.
Is he around?
You can't hear him snoring.
Is he snoring?
Yeah. He's my coworker.
There you go.
Dosa, does that sort of answer your question? I went a little bit off on a tangent, but
no, it does. Thanks. I guess I just know there's only one of me, and there's only so many hours in a day. When you have a business and you want to increase sales, there has to be other ways to market a service or a product.
Mhm.
And so I'm moving more towards the idea of email, you know.
That's good. I mean, email doesn't have to, remember too, you don't need to be emailing people 3 times a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Email can be once a week. Email can be every other week. The idea is just to build some consistency and have that sort of private, dedicated channel to connect with your customers and potential customers.
Right.
It's really tempting to find, to like dive into ConvertKit, create lead pages, have 17 lead generator documents. But the reality is one great consistent email on a regular basis is all you really need. You don't need 10,000 people on your email list. You need maybe like truly people can have completely completely cash positive businesses having like 100 people and change on their email list. We like, especially in the online marketing world, everybody's like, get to your first 1,000, get to your first 10,000. You don't need that.
No.
You can email people from your email account instead of a mail service provider if you have 100 people on your list. So keep it simple.
Okay, thanks.
That's right. Keep it simple, Dosa. Awesome. So I'm just going to, here we are, we're at 12:45. And my commitment is to keep it around 12:45. However, I don't want to shut anybody down if there's other conversation that wants to happen, we can absolutely stay on for that. If people need to leave, feel free. I won't take it personally. And if you want to check back, I will be sharing the recording once it's available for folks to download. So there's that. So how are we doing? I think we're square then.
Cool. Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing it and for being the very first. This is the initial launch of Ideas to Done. The what's that?
Inaugural.
The inaugural. I know there's I called it the version earlier, and that's silly. It's something else. There's another term for it, and it's not coming to me. I should have written it down. I used it earlier. Anyway, you're like, helping me kick this thing off, and it's been great to chat with you today. It's been great to have Laura and Dosa share what's happening with them, and to hear you help them untangle some of their social media knots. And and folks, I look forward to seeing you on future Ideas to Done webinars. Once again, this is Sarah Hawkins from True North Business Management with the Ideas to Done webinar. And I just see in the notes. Thank you, Laura. It's premiere. The premiere. This is the word. It's the premiere episode of the Ideas to Done show. So anyway, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Nope, not next Friday. In 2 weeks, every other Friday. So that would be October 20th at noon Eastern time. And you can register at True North Business Management /events. And that'll get a link to join. So thanks so much. And I will see you later.